The prelim exam is here. So, how are you feeling? What are the primary emotions that is running through your mind at this point of time? Even if you do not tell me, I have some idea about it. You see, every year, many students share with us what they are feeling at this juncture when there is just a couple of days to the exam. What are their fears? What are their emotions? And ask for suggestions of how to handle them, how to get a grip over them. So this time, I am not only going to share with you those 3 emotions which stop you from giving your best in the exam, and not only that, these are also those 3 emotions which make you feel bad about yourself before the exam, inside the exam, as well as after the exam. I'll not only share them with you, and once I share them with you, you can tell me in the comment section whether you had been feeling that also. But I will also tell you how to get a grip over it, how to combat them, how to handle those emotions in a positive manner, so that you not only give your best in the exam, you perform the best that you can in the exam, you also feel good about yourself, right? So this is the purpose of today's session, and those who would be with me till the end, they would receive a bonus tip, right? So without further ado, let's start. Let's start with looking at the negative emotion number 1, and that is, my syllabus is not completed. Now this is an overarching emotion in the minds of students at this point, that what do I do? My syllabus is not completed. I would be lagging behind, right? Well, my dear friend, 1 month to the exam, this emotion is okay. But at this point, this is something that you cannot make yourself think. So what do? First, you should forcefully make yourself not think about it. Do not think about it. Why? Because you cannot do anything about it. You cannot try anything new at this point of time, because if you do, you would get frustrated. So don't do that, right? Don't try anything new. Think that you are best prepared for this exam. Just take this advice without thinking about it, and you would see you are much better, in a much better mental position when you are going to the exam, than if you start blaming yourself again and again because you have not completed your syllabus. You have not completed your syllabus, that's a reality. That's not going to change in these 2 days. You cannot complete your syllabus in these 2 days. And this is not a semester exam, where you know that questions would come from these areas only. So the question, if this is the most important area, just go and do it. That does not happen in exams like this. So provided that you have prepared sincerely the other areas, then if there are 1 or 2 areas that are left, leave them. 2 days to the exam, don't try to do them, right? Rather, hone your skills of test taking if you can for the next 1 day or so, and that's it. Not much needs to be done at this point, okay? So that's emotion number 1, and that's the way you handle emotion number 1. Emotion number 2 is, we start thinking about what we scored or how much we scored in the last few mocks or the last mock, and if those scores are not good, we start feeling bad about ourselves. We think that we might not end up clearing this test. This happens, and that's a normal human tendency. I don't disagree with it, but the more we think about this, the chances of our getting a good score in actual exam becomes lower. Because please understand, the test is not only a test of your knowledge, right? So when I told you in the last slide that don't start doing something new, one of the reasons was that also that these are aptitude tests. Here, with a fresh mind, if you go and your logic is working fine, then even if you have not done those particular kind of questions specifically, you must still find the solution to them, because you're thinking logically. In so many cases I have shown you, even with a clear thought process, we can crack many questions, right? But for that, your mind has to be de-stressed. If your mind is thinking about all the negatives, syllabus nahi hua, mocks mein acha nahi hua, then that capability of yours would be overburdened by these negative thoughts. and we cannot let that to happen, right? So what to do? Remember this and know this, that your scores doesn't justify your capability. Remember my mock strategy session. What did I show you? I showed you that there is a score that you get and there is a capability score. So if you have been analyzing the mocks that I have told you as in the mock strategy session, then you know how you should have done it and you know what is your capability. Your capability is not what you are getting, but your capability is much more than that. And the second thing is that every test, including the actual exam that you are giving, has to be taken on its individual basis. So, like every mock has to be taken on its individual basis, every test has to be taken, every actual test has to be taken on an individual basis. You do not know on that day if you have prepared according to your capabilities well. Then on that day, if your logic is running fine, you might end up in getting your best scores. There has been so many instances that in the mock, the student is scoring pretty average, but in the actual test, he goes and smashes sixes after sixes out of the boundary. That is something that can happen with you, and you should believe that that can happen with you, right? Okay, so this is how you would control the second negative emotion. And now the third negative emotion is, what if I fail this time? Now this is something that is a common factor, not only just before the exam, but even during the preparation time. But before the exam, this is suicidal in nature. Why? Because see, we saw that when negative thoughts keep on reinforcing themselves, we start losing our own capabilities of doing the right things at the right time. And you would not want that to happen in the exam, because this test, you might be best suited to crack this test, but that would only happen when you are at your best that day. And thinking that I might fail is not going to make you the best, isn't it? Right? So this is something that you need to remember, that agar sochna hi hai, if you want to think something which is not related these next 2 days, तो nightmare क्यों सोचना है? Daydream करो. Think, what if you pass this exam? Think, what if you get this job this year? Right? So अगर आपको time waste करना ही है ये सोच के, तो why not to think positive? Because anyways आपके सोचने से कुछ होना नहीं है at this point of time. You are not going to get what you are thinking. You are going to get what you will be doing inside the paper, right? But if you think negative, you might end up not getting what you deserve. But if they think positive, you might as well be in a position where, because you feel positive about it, because you feel good about yourself, you might give your best that day, right? Okay. How to take the exam, how to prioritize your paper, which questions to do first, which questions to do next. These we have talked about in multiple sessions on our channel. Go refer to them, you'd know that. Today's purpose was not that. Today's purpose was to tell you that if you are feeling these 3 negative emotions, how do you counter them? How do you control them? And to tell you that you are not alone. So many students are feeling this with you. You just need to have a grip over yourself, right? Okay. So that was what was in today's agenda. Now, just before logging off today, bonus tip. I promised you a bonus tip. You see, a lot of times what happens is that we know all of these things, but inside the exam, because there is so much performance anxiety, pressure, stress, we can't control ourselves. So is there a mental switch in which you can control inside the paper also, that you don't go off track inside the paper? So many times it happens that we are doing a question and we start thinking about something else which is unrelated, maybe something like daydreaming or nightmare. What if I fail this exam? What if I succeed in that exam? Ye 2 din, if you are thinking about it, it's okay. What if I succeed in this exam? But inside the paper, in that 1 hour, if you are thinking, that's a crime, because that 1 hour has to be given to the paper solving only, right? So how to keep yourself focused inside the paper in that 1 hour? For that, the bonus tip is very simple. This has helped me a lot. You see, I was a lousy test taker in my student life, but this mental switch has helped me a lot in focusing myself, or rather refocusing myself towards the paper, and thereby I ended up cracking many exams with flying colors, just because, because the capability of mine earlier and later was the same, but the difference was the attitude with which I gave the exam. Earlier, the attitude with which I gave the exam was that how much I will score, and what would I do, what would I get. Achha, when you have those kind of attitude, these thoughts also come, that what if I fail, what if I succeed, these kind of stuff. You start celebrating too early after doing one question. So when your thought process is like that, but if you reorient yourself, if you start enjoying the paper, if your paper is a game where the paper is, it's like a chess game, the paper is giving you one move and you are countering that move with your own move, right? So the paper gives a easy question, you do it and move on to the next. The paper gives you a difficult question, you leave it and move on to the next. So these are the moves that you play with the paper, right? So you start enjoying the paper. Your primary goal becomes enjoying the paper and not scoring in the paper. Score would be a byproduct, it would automatically come. So once you start doing that, your story would change. Just like my story changed when I started enjoying the paper. From an average performer, I started coming in the top 50 ranks in mocks, and then ended up doing good in the actual exam also, CAT and other MBA entrance exams. Because this shift helped me. My story changed, and this can change your story too, right? So keep these tips in mind when you go for the paper, while you are preparing for the paper, while you are making your mind set for the paper, and you will do fantastically well in the paper. With that, I log off today. I wish you all the best. Go ahead, do your best in the paper. Thank you very much.